So I think it was only yesterday, as of the making of this video, when we got the news that Eighth Wall is going to be shut down. And for those who don't know, Eighth Wall is one of the biggest and most well-known web AR tools that was acquired by Niantic, who also supply us with the absolutely phenomenal Niantic Spatial SDK, formerly known as Lightship. So one of the best tools you can get for augmented reality development. And that was quite a shock for the community. Some people in the Discord wrote that they've been working for many months on these tools and building their web AR games. And I actually only recently also worked myself a bit deeper into Eighth Wall, creating a little web AR game. And I could definitely see the potential that this tool had. Although, of course, it's not perfect. I would say that especially one of the latest updates they made with the desktop class editor with the opportunity to export to iOS and Android was pretty amazing. So the shock was also pretty big for me when I heard that. And I wanted to talk in this video a bit about the general status of AR and AR tools as of the end of 2025, and also what we have to expect in the upcoming years. So first of all, we don't know any reason why Eighth Wall shut down, and this was a surprise because, of course, they just added some big updates, as I just said. But of course, we can do some educated guessing. And when a company is running really well, they're making lots of profits, the likelihood is very small that this company is going to kind of quit their business, right? So I would think that if a business makes lots and lots of revenue and profits, the likelihood to be shut down is quite low. So I would guess that their business model that they had also changed over the last months and years just didn't work out. They, as far as I remember, they used to be a completely paid option, being quite expensive and project-based, to then introducing Niantic Studio, where they at some point pivoted to a completely free editor use, and you could also publish your projects for free. And you only had to pay when you wanted to kind of hide the splash screen and their logo. But at this point in time, the problem of not being really successful and profitable in a way that would justify to expand and continue the business was probably already obvious. And that pivot was, I assume, a last idea to turn around the whole business and break into a new section, which was more about web gaming. And this you could also notice in the marketing material when introducing Niantic Studio. They kind of pivoted from the AR engine to a Web 3D game engine, which was also supposedly using some kind of AI. And at that point, you could already see that maybe the model they tried to introduce, doing mainly web AR, very smartphone based for marketing purposes, wasn't probably working out, and maybe just companies weren't so interested because there hasn't been a hype for AR since Pokemon Go came out. And so instead of focusing on augmented reality, they tried to pivot in a direction that would set it in direct competition with something like Unity. And here, of course, it's very hard to compete because Unity is completely free for even commercial purposes, and you don't pay anything, I think, until you have a revenue of over $200,000. And Unity is a over 10-year-old game engine with a huge community, with a lot of assets and so many ways to build not only web games, but also full-on mobile games, consoles, computer. So that is definitely a super tough competition here. Also, of course, Unreal Engine is a big competitor here. So that's definitely two giants to fight against. And then, of course, on the other hand, there are still the AR-focused tools. For example, naming Lens Studio, which definitely pushed a lot of great updates in the last month and years, making it a really viable 3D engine with a lot of great simulation tools, and also then enabling developers to create actual apps and even web AR applications completely for free. And of course, this is not really fair because Lens Studio is essentially an extension of Snapchat. And of course, they don't need to make money with the Lens Studio itself, so they can offer all of that completely for free. and it just thought to push their Snapchat business as well as their upcoming AR glasses and give essentially the development environment to create for that. So this is definitely very tough competition there as well. And then we have other tools that just came out, such as the Meta Spatial SDK or the Immersive Web Spatial SDK. And here we have the same thing. These are pretty awesome tools, and I also definitely want to make a video on that, which allow to create WebXR completely for free, even commercially. And so there's definitely a tough ground to be on, being in between those existing, already pretty sophisticated game engines and those upcoming AR-focused engines that are backed by these giant Silicon Valley companies. Of course, there are still other exceptions that are still on the market, such as Metacraft from Zapworks, as well as Needle, which I also made a tutorial about in the past. And those are still two independent, pretty great options here that can be used and that have probably similar difficulties compared to Eighth Wall, but at least as of making this video still seem to hold up pretty nicely and maybe have found a good niche to kind of exist in. But this also leads to the discussion why Eighth Wall needed to do this pivot into more Web 3D gaming anyways. And this is because of the current state of AR. So in my opinion, we're in a pretty tough spot in terms of augmented reality as of right now, because we're in an in-between period. There has been a great hype about augmented reality when Pokemon Go came out, and I think this was already 10 years or so ago, maybe even more. I don't know, was it 2013, 14, 15? I don't know. And there was a huge hype because people really liked this idea to combine kind of 3D elements with the real world. And so there was a great time, and I also think the time where having something like a WebAR service would really shine. But then kind of the hype flatlined, and now we're in a position where people know about AR, but they don't care about it so much. Also, taking a look at what Meta does with their reality labs and their Quest headsets, for example. Although they do have some successes here, we can see that kind of the spendings very much outweigh these successes, and there's still just a niche community that is really interested in this technology. But there's also some great news, because in 2026 we are going to see at least one fully functional AR glasses, which are going to be specs. And they will be the first full-on AR glasses that will have, on the one hand, a light form factor, but will also have enough capabilities in terms of processing power to do real augmented reality effects. In my opinion, this is going to be the beginning of a new hype where people will start buying these glasses, not only the enthusiasts, but also just more regular people, which might still be, tech interested. But I guess this is going to be the start of a huge hype, and that's probably going to be called smart glasses or AI glasses, but we all know what it essentially means. So it will combine augmented reality, and then of course a lot of artificial intelligence will be in there anyways. And maybe we'll also be lucky and see Meta's AR glasses this year, which will also feature full-on world understanding and augmented reality effects. So in my opinion, we can already see the light at the end of the tunnel, and it's going to be amazing. With these new hardware AR glasses, we're going to see just much more interest and much more possibilities also for us developers, what we can offer and create for the AR community. And I think this is going to create a new golden age of AR glasses, which will be the next big consumer electronics product, in my opinion, after the smartphone. I don't think that we will throw away smartphones, but I think that a lot of people will buy these glasses because they just offer a very unique value compared to what we already have. And we can definitely look forward into that bright future. But I also want to say that for creating successful kind of engines or editors for augmented reality, it's definitely going to be hard, because we'll have Meta, Snapchat, Unity, and maybe even some other contender coming into this space. And those are already very sophisticated engines that will offer a lot of value, and it will mostly be for free or not so expensive. So in order to create successful web engines, I would say that definitely the independent providers such as Metacraft, for example, will need to search for a niche and kind of have a unique value proposition that does not really match with what the big providers want to do. For example, just a general Web 3D engine will definitely be a tough sell. But if you would, for example, go into very specific use cases, such as for e-commerce, for education, or for maybe navigation, let's say, then I would definitely think that there's a chance to do that. But competing with these big Silicon Valley tech companies is never a great idea. So that was just a quick thinking out loud about the current situation of the industry, about the news of Eighth Wall, and where I kind of see the AR industry heading in the future. If you like these types of videos, then please leave a comment below and let me know so I could make them more often. And as always, thanks a lot for watching and see you next time.